welcome on board Unlocking Oceans Economy with Captain Londy Ngcobo. Welcome to another episode of Unlocking Oceans Economy with Captain Londy Ngcobo, where we dive deep into the vast opportunities of oceans economy and dive even deeper in the challenges. I bring you forward a friend of mine, a leader, a captain of industry, Durand Naidoo from Linsen, Nambi. But before I bring him forward to you, I want to take a moment to just share my gratitude. Linsen Nambi has sponsored this episode, and I'm very grateful. You know, navigating this for me as a public speaker and a maritime consultant, I call upon brothers and sisters every now and again, and he's come forward to say, I support your cause. Why have you done this?
I think it's very important to support programs like yours that bring awareness to the maritime industry. As you pointed out, it's a vast industry with vast opportunities. South Africa has one of the longest coastlines in the world. We also have some of the biggest deposits of commodities. If you look at coal, iron ore, manganese, we're leaders in producing those materials, which all obviously are shipped and transported by sea. So I think it's important that more people are exposed to our industry, especially young people and especially women.
I love that so much. If I can unpack it any further for you, Durand is a cool nerd. If I can. He's a cool nerd. You know, this guy leads with passion, and he's an authentic leader, if I am. But he also is just brave in just exploring our industry. And if you go on LinkedIn, you will see his posts are always very mindful. And I love that. And it says a lot about who you are. I may call you D, but people don't know Durand, the CEO of Linsen, Nambi. Who is Durand?
Wow, a bit of a loaded question. I think really when you're purpose-driven, then it's a lot easier to become mindful of what your purpose is. And I think that we all have a purpose. We're all put on this planet with a purpose, with a talent that we have to explore. And you know, it's our duty, since we've been bestowed with this talent by God, to use it to actually bring more sort of, I would say, productivity, or just bring more value to society. And I think that's really what drives me, is that from a young age, when I was studying and became exposed to the maritime industry, I really saw the value of this industry, and I have a passion for it. And I believe that my purpose is to try and grow the industry for South Africans and the ordinary citizens of South Africa as well.
And you truly have. You've really unlocked oceans economy. I mean, I sat in fascination as a ship navigator, and I'm just like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? And then boom, he's a ship owner? Guys, disclaimer, this right here next to me, if you even question at all if they exist in brown, if they exist in coolness as he is, 2018, Cyril Ramaphosa in Orlando Stadium announces 2 South African young men owning a South African shipping company. And for me, it was mind-blowing because I thought it was very much far-fetched. You made it look seamless, and I know it wasn't. But take us back to that memory.
Yeah, look, I think like you've mentioned, it didn't quite, I suppose, feel that real and resonate as it was at that moment. We were sort of going through the emotions, and like you said, it was a few years ago now. So looking back on it, you also kind of look at it and say, wow, okay, I suppose it was quite a exciting event. But you know, the story of Linsen Nambi started in 2010. So it's taken us quite a long time to grow the business to where it is. And again, I suppose at that time, we didn't feel that deep sense of accomplishment because we still felt that there was more to accomplish, to grow the industry, to grow the size of the maritime industry, to create more opportunities for people. And even now, looking back at it, yes, it was a great event. And I think that it was momentous in the case that it was the first time that we had representation of young people, of Black people, of people of color, owning these vessels and understanding that these opportunities are accessible. And we're hoping that, you know, it's the first of many, and that as we move forward, we can unlock those opportunities for more people.
Absolutely. And we want that. But I'm interested in knowing, now I've transitioned full on into entrepreneurship.
Right.
I'm often exhausted. I'm often confused. I'm often just trying to figure things out. And do you think that when noise landed, you were ready for it?
I think, there may have been a little bit of noise in the industry, but, fortunately, I have a very strong partnership with Tuso. We've obviously been friends for many years, basically since we've been 9 years old. So having someone to share that journey with didn't make you feel isolated, and also didn't give you an ego, because you understood the hard work that you both had put in the years before that. And also we both, I think, come from very anchored families. Our family support, they're very there, from our parents to our wives to our children. We're very focused on that. So I think it may have been noise in the industry, but personally, it's work, and family, and that is obviously more important. And I think more especially, I know our mothers were very proud, because you have to understand that when we started the business in our early 20s and we left work and we were both qualified, and our mothers really didn't understand that. They felt like, why did we walk away from a career that was safe, especially after studying for so many years, to pursue this? And it was a very difficult journey for a number of years. And I think they finally understood that we had entrepreneurship deep in our sort of being, and then they supported us. And fortunately, where we are right now, we're successful, and we just hope that we continue to grow.
And you will, because you like the industry favorites, like a duo of notes. And I just wonder sometimes if we will ever have more of such deep partnerships, that make it visible, that make it inviting and intentional. And now you guys are fathers and husbands, and you still, close. And it's become quite a journey, these milestones, the noise coming through, quietening it, and you're studying together, all of that. And I just feel that in life, you just realize who your anchors are early enough. And sometimes you have to define them as you grow. What would you say anchors you?
I think definitely, as I mentioned, my family anchors me. My family anchors me in the sense that growing up, we've always tried to aspire to have more stability at home, have more resources at home, and also provide for a future. And so that's very top of mind, I think, for many people in South Africa, as to, are they providing for their family, and are they providing for future generations? I think also what's important in terms of anchoring me personally is that I really do believe in the people of South Africa and this country. I believe that I will always live in this country, and that I will play a small part in trying to create more opportunities and help grow this country. I think we are going through a difficult period right now. But I think if you take a step back and you look at our young democracy, and if you look at how the history of South Africa has unfolded, I still believe that the future of South Africa is bright. And I believe that because the people of South Africa are very warm and very bright and very talented. And I think they just need the right leadership. And when they're exposed to the right leadership, then they are definitely able to create the right opportunities and be far more productive. And also friendship, and both in the industry and outside of the industry, loyalty is very important to me. I think we conduct our business in a very ethical and loyal manner, which is very important to us. And we always go back to our ethics and say, does this sit well with us? Are we going to be able to sleep at night if we take this decision? And I think that's very important in building a sustainable business.
Yes, absolutely. I'm learning a lot myself. I think that what you exude, what you walk, and everything that you touch really does come from that deep sense of entrepreneurship, and yet mindful. And I want to keep emphasizing this mindfulness. And I think maybe it has come with years, I don't know. But I know that everything you do with intention. I see even with your comments on LinkedIn, it's always, look at it this way. I read this. I think this is where we're moving. I want to understand, and you've shared it too many times, shared value.
Right.
While we're moving in the direction of CSI, and I'm still there, I'm like, corporate social investment, you've brought it back, or brought it to our attention, the shared value. How is it different? How is it different to the traditional CSI?
Well, the shared value framework is actually a corporate strategy, firstly. So it is a strategy where one would take the needs of society and take the needs of business and realize that they aren't trade-offs. They actually complement each other. And by employing this strategy, you can actually create a very competitive strategy that can earn more value. Now, CSI, I think, is really dependent on the charitable contributions of a business. And it really then depends on where the business is. Is the business in a position to donate? And there's always a limit to donations. And that is the challenge. And I think that where the shared value framework has a lot of promise for South Africa, but also in the maritime industry, is that it's very difficult to run a successful business in an unsuccessful society. Which is why as business, we must then take the stance that we can solve the needs of our people, which are by far and large societal needs such as housing, water, electricity, education, healthcare, and overlay that with a business product and service that delivers the value for our people. And in that way, we then create a higher form of capital, which then creates this virtuous cycle of solving society's problems while creating more products and services for business, while growing your company. And it moves in this virtuous cycle. And I believe that is the virtuous cycle we need to then rid ourselves of this vicious cycle of high unemployment, poverty, and inequality which plagues this country.
But what would motivate a large entity to look at it as a shared value as opposed to just CSI, just donating, as we always do? I'll give them the 1% of my CSI part of my revenue. How do I sit in my largest shipping company and say, whatever, Durand, I think I'm fine with this? What's the key motivator?
Money. So shared value is a capitalist approach. It is about increasing your profitability, and it is about creating additional products and services. Now, when one understands that, one has to then realize that, look, it's not going to solve every problem, but what it can do, it can grow your business. And especially in a society like South Africa, where our problems are interlaid with poverty and inequality and unemployment. Now, as a corporate, you're going to say to yourself, well, I'll deal with this, BEE issue, or I'll deal with this employment equity issue, or I'll deal with this CSI issue, or this skills and training issue, when I have time, and, I've got so many other important things. But the reality is, these problems still sit with us as corporates.
Yes.
So what tends to happen is these become internalized costs in our business.
True.
Because
every single day.
Right. Because you've got to then say, well, if I'm not actually considering my business activity and how it affects the environment, government is going to regulate and create more environmental regulations and levies and taxes that I need to pay, which then become a cost to my business. When it comes to managing people, if you don't understand people, you don't understand how people are transported, where people live in terms of a spatial environment. You've got to then understand that it forms part of your business because it may affect your working hours. It may affect people's ability to work additional hours. It may affect your ability to provide people with a desktop laptop as opposed to a laptop, because people may not have internet at home. Now, one has to consider all of these aspects, and that is what will drive productivity.
Yeah.
So I think you can't ignore it, especially not in South Africa, because you end up paying for it anyway.
Yes. Mind-blowing, I think. And I think that whoever questions it, I've only sat with you for like 5 seconds, and I get it completely. Do you think there is an authentic buy-in to it, or do you think that it's something that needs to be elevated and made seen, the shared value strategies, that made seen so that industry, especially our industry, can slowly adapt to the concept of shared value? Maybe paint a picture for us at Linsen, Nambi.
Well, at Linsen, Nambi, we definitely have a shared value approach, and we believe in investing back in the communities in which we operate. And I think that's because...
I saw that recently on your LinkedIn. I'm not sure I'm not sure which one.
I think you're referring to, we've just launched Linsen Nambi Marine Surveying, which now we take our seafarers that we employ, over 100 of them throughout the country, and we've trained them in risk assessment and in surveying, so that in this way, what we've done is we've created more specialist skills And specialization is where we get more productivity as South Africans, and then we can grow the GDP of this country. Now, marine surveying has traditionally been an industry that hasn't transformed and is also aging, because what tends to happen is you have people that have worked in the maritime industry, either at sea or on shore, but after a number of years of experience, then say that they're going to be marine surveyors and leave sort of later in their career or towards their retirement. Now, we don't have enough marine surveyors, which means that cargo interests and insurers are waiting longer for marine surveyors to finish their inspections and issue their reports. And also, insurers are very concerned that because of the age profile of the existing surveyors, we're not going to have enough young surveyors to come into the market. So how we looked at this, we said, all right, look, let's redefine this product and service. What is a marine surveyor? A marine surveyor is really a seafarer or a person who's worked in the maritime industry that has this knowledge and then has an understanding of risk, has an understanding of risk assessments, has an understanding of the different roles and responsibilities of surveyor, which is what we trained our people on. We then said, okay, let's reconceive these products and services and say, all right, within our pool of seafarers that work aboard the vessel but have time off, they actually have the time to conduct claims. And we have enough of them that they're never in a position of not being able to attend to a claim because they're at sea. And then we said, all right, let's look at the cluster. Let's look at how do we support this within the marine insurance industry, within the eThekwini maritime cluster, and within the various training clusters that we have. And that's why we've launched this business using the people that we employ from our community, from our seafarers. And at the same time, we've then now created more risk awareness in our business, reinforcing safety. And that for us is going to create more wins for us. Now, taking it out to the industry, I think, yes, that the industry is seeing the value of now investing in South Africans and investing back into the communities. You would have seen recently that Maersk has signed an MOU to employ more South African cadets.
I'm so excited.
We would have seen MSC investing in the passenger cruise terminal, as well as investing further into South African products. So there are these initiatives by the bigger corporates. I think what one needs to do then is to bring in the other role players from a government point of view and from an industry point of view. And that's why I believe that the cluster has such an important role to play. It's because in the absence of this shared value, what tends to happen is we have government and private sector pitted against each other, where government is after the needs of society and business is after the needs of profit. And when they're pitted off against each other, they make these trade-offs, and eventually what happens is you have a zero-sum game with one party trying to do all. And we've seen that recently where oil companies have wanted to do exploration along our coast, but it's been blocked by NGOs and other such similar situations. And I think when one comes together for the shared value approach, then there is no trade-off. There is no zero-sum game. There's both a societal win and an economic win. And this has been done in Norway, where there have been challenges with the fishing communities, where when obviously exploration companies wanted to come in and explore, it may have impacted these fishing communities. But they've managed to work together and realize that the actual opportunities for the youth of Norway lie within the oil and gas industry, and at the same time supported the fishing industry to ensure that there was transition. So I think we need a similar approach here.
That's amazing, actually, because when you look at it, there's a lot of initiatives, like you're saying. There's that, it just keeps lingering in my ear. Small business player that is listening and is like, wow, this is mind-blowing. How are they able to be part of that shared value, those shared value strategies without feeling too small to understand or feeling too small to play into it? How do you think that startups can implement shared value even within their businesses?
So I think that ideally, as a startup, you want to be extremely productive. And really, to be productive, the simple way to put it is you've got to increase output while lowering your cost. Okay. Now, the opportunity in South Africa around these maritime clusters, that when a small business joins a maritime cluster, they're exposed to a larger group of companies that they can offer work to. And then they can rearrange their core competencies in a certain way to provide different skills to different companies, but still retaining their set of resources. And in that way, they make better use of their resources and increase their output while keeping their costs low. And what the cluster then does is it allows them to do a higher volume of work at a lower rate. So they're much more cost competitive. But because they've got a higher volume of work, they actually make a higher turnover. And so their output is higher, of this lower cost base. So that is why I would say get involved in a cluster, get close to a cluster, because then you have the ability to network with a lot of companies and at the same time collaborate with these businesses and get involved in innovation and look at this research and development and look at what products we can actually get out of this country that the world needs.
Absolutely. Durand, I want us to talk until, I don't know what. Are you unlocking oceans economy?
I think we are trying to. I think that, as I've mentioned, we definitely do need role players to work together for a shared value. They need to understand that in South Africa at the moment, this industry represents a vast opportunity for employment, a vast opportunity to grow the GDP of this country. The maritime industry is a dollar-denominated industry, which means that every time we do not use a South African company for a service, we've actually got to import that service, which affects our current account. And because we're paying for it in dollars, it means that our balance of payments is being affected because we've got to sell more rands to buy more dollars. So if we can start to localize this industry, localize around our value chain, it will increase our exports and it will increase our balance of payments, which are both very important for the growth of this country and creating employment.
Is that the problem you're trying to solve now? I know that you're exposed to so many things. I know that you're exposed to so many. How's that going, by the way?
The Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers.
The studies, yeah.
Yeah, it's going quite well. We've got a lot of young people that are joining the chartered shipbrokers that are studying. And I think to your earlier question, when I see these young brokers that want to access the industry, that is what drives me, and that is where I'm putting a lot of my effort now.
Because that's where you started.
Right.
Yes.
That is where I started.
Yeah.
Is to say, look, we need to open up this industry. We need to create more opportunity, especially for youth, because youth unemployment is just unsustainable. It's the highest in the world by far. And unless we address that, we're going to have massive issues in this country in the future.
My brother, I appreciate that you're always a call away. I appreciate that you always show up with heart. And I appreciate that you've sponsored this episode. Speaking of youth, there's a girl from Global Maritime Youth My Foundation. Right. I told my foundation that I'm bringing industry experts, and they're like, oh, that guy from LinkedIn. and she said she just would love to ask you a question, just a question or two. And I said, I will never impose mentorship because that happens organically. But I said, I will definitely get you to ask one question. I have no doubt, I still ask questions from Durand, and I have no doubt that whatever you have to unpuzzle, he'll give it to you with heart. And so we have Zama that has a question for you, and I hope that you can be able to just declutter, demystify what may be confusing.
Hi, my name is Durand Naidoo, and I'm 21 years of age. I reside in Claremont. I'm doing diploma in shipping and logistics, and it's my 3rd year this year. Yeah, and currently I'm looking for internship. Right. So I have a question for you, and my question is, what are some of the unique opportunities that you guys have for students like me who are doing shipping and logistics? And what advice do you have for students like me on in terms of networking and connections to the employers?
Okay. Well, congratulations on getting this far. I think that it's very good, and it's good that you're studying shipping. I think that we definitely need more students to study shipping. The opportunities that we provide at Linsen Nambi, we generally take learners and interns at a very young age. We then develop them from learners into cadets. We then make them deck cadets, able seamen, ordinary seamen, and then officers, and engineers. So I think the opportunity is to get real experience on board a sort of bunker tanker, to work in the port and understand the shipping value chain, understand the different role players. In bunkering, you'll obviously be exposed to all types of ships, from dry bulk vessels to liquid bulk vessels to containers to car carriers, which then gives you more sort of depth of the industry. And then combined with your studies and pursuing a professional position on shore, you'd find that you've got better operational experience because you're able to then speak from a position of legitimacy, having worked at sea. So I would encourage you to keep a lookout for those positions, to keep a lookout as to when we advertise our intern take, and obviously you can reach out to us, having met, and yeah, I think hopefully there is something suitable. Also, I think networking is very important. Like this event, the maritime industry right now has a lot of leaders that are opening up networking events. So keep an eye out for the LinkedIn events. The eThekwini Maritime Cluster has a lot of events. They have a lot of programs. Keep an eye out for those. And I think by attending those events, by joining it, you get more information, and you also get the opportunity to access people that you wouldn't generally be able to. And in that way, you can then create sort of a profile and become memorable to these people that may be your prospective employers in the future.
Thank you so much.
There you have it, captains. Unlocking Ocean's Economy with Captain Londy Ngcobo. My brother came, and the shared value concept, when he unpacked it in one of the platforms that I watched, I said, he definitely needs to be here, and you definitely need to hear all about it, because that to me is the future and a half. I think that you know what to do. I wish that you will walk the walk with me. You will keep the ship afloat. You like, you share, you subscribe. You bring everyone and make noise about this platform that we've created, because every single person needs to know that there's captains of industry that continue to walk the walk but do not want to leave anyone behind. I'm grateful that you were here to sit through this episode. I'll see you on the next one.